As part of our 2021 e-bike shootout, this year we have decided to break up each bike into individual reviews leading up to our final roundtable summary video, which will be coming out very soon. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Commencal Meta Power TR29. The test bike we tested was the signature build. It was a size large and retails for $7,199. The Meta Power TR is a 140/150 bike, weighed in at 53 pounds and came with a pretty solid spec and very capable and aggressive geometry. Up front, the Meta Power has a Fox 38 eMTB specific fork with a Fox DPX2 factory rear shock. The drive unit comes in the form of a Shimano EP8 with a 630 watt-hour battery. Stopping power is handled in the form of Shimano XT brakes with 203mm rotors, and drivetrain duties come courtesy of Shimano XT 12-speed drivetrain. The Commencal Meta Power is a 29er front and rear, and as with all of our test bikes for this shootout, we had a test tire which was the Schwalbe Magic Mary and Big Betty rear. There's a Fox factory transfer dropper seat post and some in-house Commencal parts to make up the rest of the cockpit spec. Getting into the geo on the size large, it has a 485mm reach, a 613mm stack height, 1,279mm wheelbase with 453mm chainstays. The seat tube angle is 77.5 degrees and has a head angle of 64.5 degrees. So our testers quickly got along with the Meta Power TR. It is definitely one of the more aggressive, longer bikes in this trail category. Again, the trail category is 150mm of travel or less in the rear. So this bike is gonna be kind of that more aggressive, shreddy, downhill bias trail bike with that, relatively slack head tube angle and long reach. So in typical Commencal fashion, right, this bike is gonna be designed for a newer school rider, someone who likes to ride high speed terrain, steep terrain, and really kind of push themselves.
As soon as I got on it, I felt comfortable. Confidence inspiring. When we sessioned that jump trail with all those doubles and drops and stuff like that, that's where I had the most fun.
The geo for me at 6'1", that reach is spot on. Some of the other bikes in this category seem to be a little bit short, and I think for me, that 485 is definitely the upper limit of what I'd want in a trail bike.
Here in front of me, I have a few of our notes from our test team, and basically throughout the week as we were testing all of the bikes, everyone took time to fill out their feedback after the days riding these bikes, and we picked some of the best highlights and lowlights to kind of talk to you about this bike specifically. So, the looks, obviously, that's one of the first things that you notice about a bike before you ever get on it, and everyone was stoked on how this Commencal bike looked. It was sharp, the chrome finish, that polish was just definitely attention grabbing and a beautiful looking bike. All around, it was a very capable bike. We liked the Shimano EP8, liked that 630 battery. We felt that it was a pretty balanced feel. The suspension platform was nice. It was not overly stiff to where you weren't comfortable sitting down for long days or sitting over really rocky terrain like we found a ton of in St. George, Utah. So it did a really good job of blending, seated comfort, climbing capability with some big hit, bump eating compliance, and some rough chatter terrain was easily absorbed by this rear end. So overall, impressive suspension spec, obviously with the Fox factory stuff. We were all thrilled with how that performed. Had no issues with the drivetrain or reliability there. So those were all things that were definitely in the plus category for our testers. On the dislike side, we noticed that this bike had more drag than others. Many other bikes had Shimano EP8s during our test session, and for some reason this bike, it just seemed like when you stopped pedaling, it would have a lot more mechanical drag, and it didn't really go away. So we thought maybe at first it was like just some seals or tight tolerances, but this bike as a whole, it rolled slower than some of the other bikes out there, even with same tire, same pressure, and same EP8 motor. So we never really quite figured out what that was, but that was a bummer, obviously, for some of our testers. The long reach, specifically, I was one of the guys who thought that it was a little bit too long. It wasn't the easiest to manual or get that front end up. Slower speed, kind of techy drops where you'd round a turn and get that front end up to, do a low speed drop off of a rock. I just don't love long reaches. Obviously, a lot of new school riders do. I prefer a bike in that 475 range, and I thought at 485 it was just a little bit long. We had some guys there that are 6 foot, 6'1". I'm 5'11". They felt that the reach was just fine for them. They liked the trade-off of high-speed stability and confidence, and were willing to make a sacrifice on the occasional, slower speed tech. So who's the ideal rider for this, and where would I say this is not the ideal bike? Okay, if you live in an area that requires a lot of slow speed technical maneuvering, maybe some awkward kind of janky obstacles, slow speed drops, this is not going to be the ideal bike for you. It is harder to keep up speed, partially because of that drag, also that longer wheelbase. It's not super playful on small features. If you have something with a larger lip or more pop to it, it will get airborne just fine, but many other trail bikes in the category are more playful on smaller jibby trail features, so that's not going to be the strong suit of this bike. The long wheelbase, the long reach is going to give you a lot of stability when it comes time to just absolutely haul ass. When you're going fast and you want to charge steep stuff but don't need a 160 bike, this thing is going to feel like a little, mini enduro rig. It is planted, it is stable, and a lot of fun to ride. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned as we work our way through this series. We're gonna see how the Commencal stacks up to the rest of the bikes in our e-bike shootout. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you out on the trails.